Good morning. Happy Monday to you. My name is Tim Harris. It is 10 o'clock. It is time for 10 with Tim. I'm the pastor of Woodburn Baptist Church, which makes me the most blessed man to be alive. I love the church I'm blessed to serve, and I love you. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts. You can either listen to this or you can watch this. You can join me live at 10 or you can watch it whenever you watch. It doesn't really matter. My aim is just to encourage you in the Word. And so we go verse by verse. So by the end of this thing, we will have read the whole Bible together, which I love. I just really do. And I appreciate the fact that you're with me today. It's the start of a new week and a new week in the Word for us. I know the question everybody's asking, like, is Pastor Tim ever going to get a haircut? And I am. Y'all remember back in COVID when we couldn't get haircuts and, man, everybody just looked like shaggy dogs. And me especially, I can't speak for you, but I look like a shaggy dog in COVID. And I am reaching, shaggy dog status here. My barber, it's just a regular like man's barber shop. I don't go to like a fancy salon. It's just a barber, but he now takes appointments, like only appointments. So I can't just like drop in and get a haircut. So anyway, I have an appointment on Wednesday. So give me another 2 days, day and a half, and I'll try to look more presentable for you. But today, this is what it is. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But I am mindful of the fact that probably my hair is like, I can't get all of me in this frame anymore. My hair probably goes out the top because it gets taller the longer it gets. But anyway, that's not helping us. Let's get to the word. First Chronicles chapter 15 today. David circles back around to bring the ark back into town. Now, we get the idea that he never forgot about it. I mean, just that David now built several buildings for himself in the city of David. He also prepared a place for the ark of God, set up a special tent for it. It's a temporary tent to be able to bring the ark into its permanent home. We knew he didn't forget about it, but my goodness, I like the fact that he learned something. I mean, I know that sounds strange. Like, well, wouldn't anybody? But no. Do you not live in the same world I live in? People don't learn nothing. I mean, people make the same mistake over and over and over, and they don't understand why their life, goes to crap every time they walk out the door. It's because you don't learn from your mistakes. You don't learn from anything. Most of us don't, I don't know why we are so hard-headed, thick-skulled, lame-brained, but man, we don't learn anything. But David does. God bless him, he does. At the end of the story, the first thing he learned was to fear God. You remember that? I mean, after the outburst against Uzzah, David is properly humbled and once more brought back into acquaintance with the fear of God, which is the beginning of wisdom, So if you're going to learn anything about anything, the first lesson is to fear God. It is the beginning of wisdom. Got it? And so David's learning. And so this time around, it's going to be nothing like the first time around. I mean, David is going to do it. And it's so funny because, this time he is following the rules. He's finally went back to the book and read what God has said. And this time he is not going to compromise on anything God has said. And again, my goodness, if only we could learn that the easy way instead of the hard way, then poor Uzzah wouldn't be dead somewhere in the ground. There are consequences to our sin and our obstinance, but at this point, David is on the right track, so give him credit where credit is due. So he prepares this temporary place, the tent for the ark, and he makes all of the preparations for bringing it home to Jerusalem. He commands, verse 2, no one except the Levites may carry the ark of God. Like, you don't have to tell us twice. Remember last time it was Uzzah and what was his brother's name? I forget his brother's name. Uzzah and Ahio. They were the sons of what was his name? It's been a long week. Abinadab. Remember the ark was at Abinadab's house, and his boys, hey boys, come on over here, grab this. Uzzah and Ahio. I guess their heart was in the right place. They're doing the right thing. They just weren't doing the right thing the right way. It's important to do God's will. It's equally important to do God's will, God's way. So now David's like, hey, nobody but Levites is touching this thing because that's what God says. That's what God had said before too. But again, we're learning. Give him credit. And so notice in verse 3, David summoned all of Israel. I think that's important because all of Israel came out. But when I say all of Israel, I don't mean all of Israel. I mean all of Israel minus one, but we'll come back to that, right? But I want you to point out everybody's there, everybody except one who's not there, but we'll come back to her, all right? And so that we have the number of the Levites who were assembled together. This is pretty fantastic. Now, again, scholars, careful readers would love to go in here and draw the family tree of all the Levitical clans and the important families and all of that. I'm not going to do all that with you, but just call your attention to the fact that it's over 850, and that's just Levites alone. Now, this ark is not that big. And it's not like it takes a whole, it's not like your brother-in-law's couch. It's not even that heavy, but 850 Levites. It's not so much that they all got a lift. It's just that this is such a momentous occasion, and also the chance of a lifetime for the Levites. I mean, literally, the chance of a generation, and so everybody wants to be a part of it. And so all of these men who are blessed to have if all you did was pound the drum or blow the horn or otherwise open the gate, because it's an 8-mile journey. A lot of you got to open gates. My goodness, it's an honor. And so over 850 Levites assemble, singers sing, musicians play. And it's a community-wide celebration. I mean, it's a community-wide celebration minus one, but we'll come back to her in a minute. In verse 15, it points out they're carrying the ark with poles on their shoulders, exactly as, it always had said that. It's not like these are new instructions. That's what they were always supposed to do. They should have known this the first time, but now they know, so they've learned something, and so on we go. In verses 16 to 26, David officially appoints the singers. Singing is important in Chronicles. It's like over 30 times the word or some derivative of the word for sing is used in Chronicles. And so it's just the amazing joyfulness of singing and being able to sing at this amazing occasion. Now, verses 27 to 29, we learn something about David. And I love David. You just got to love David. David is dressed in a robe of fine linen. All the Levites were, and the singers and all of that. But it points out that David is also wearing a priestly garment. David is dressed with and as a Levite, and that's not inappropriate. The passage here is highlighting David's role and identity as a priestly king. It's that dual role. He's priest and he's king, a priestly king. Remember, it was in the New Testament where it says that Christ has made us to be a kingdom of priests. So indeed, this is ideally what God wants for all of his people. We learn this through Jesus. But here, David is the embodiment of those dual roles, the priest and the king. And that is to the glory of God. And it is beautiful and amazing. And so all of Israel is gathered. That's what we said. They're all here, man. And worship is at the center because the Ark of the Covenant, make no mistake, the Ark of the Covenant represents God's presence. God abides with his people, and it's such a miracle. Even Solomon later is going to say, man, will God do this? And the answer is yes, he will, because of his grace. Yes, he will choose to dwell among us, God with us. And at the same time, God's presence with his people is always an occasion for joy. It's always an occasion for celebration and worship. That's what worship is. It's a human response to God's presence. That's what worship is. Our response to God's presence. And the response is joyful and universal. The whole community is there. Well, I say the whole community because there's one person who sat this one out. And who is it? Michal. Yeah. David's wife. She chooses to not participate. It's community-wide. Like everybody's there. David called out all of Jerusalem, but Michal doesn't come. Like, what has she got? What, a headache? Or she had like a skin cancer, cut off her eyelid, so she didn't want to come out in public. I don't know what it is, but Michal sits this one out. So when we say community-wide, well, not the whole community, we're minus one. And when we say, that, everybody, God's dwelling and everybody's responding with joy, well, not everybody. We got Michal. you know? And while we know from other references to her that she loves David, does she though? I mean, I guess she does, but it grows cold between them. And part of it is this, what is her deal? I don't understand. When I even imagine David, skipping and laughing, like, how is that not just beautiful? I mean, most men are such crud balls. I mean, I can say that because I'm a man. Men, a lot of us, man, we suck the fun out of everything. The family dreads when we come home because we walk in the door and all the fun stops. Most men are not themselves happy and not themselves joyful, and so they don't manage to spread any love and joy when they walk in the house. But David is that man. David is laughing and joyful and leading his whole kingdom into celebration and joy, and it flies right up Michael's nose. And I don't understand her, except at the same time, and don't take this wrong, but as a pastor, I often deal with people like Michael. They won't participate in worship. They're not a participant, but they are a critic. And it's heartbreaking, not because it hurts my feelings. It doesn't. It's just so sad because there's this whole assembly of joyfulness and praise and worship, and she could be a part of that. Like, she acts like everybody else got a problem. She acts like David's got a problem when David is the freest, most life-giving heart in the kingdom, and he's the king. No sense of pride, no self-consciousness, just very unself-consciously, dancing before the Lord. And what is it about that she can't appreciate? It's her husband, it's the king. But all she can do is look out her window. Like, she's not a part of it. She's just a critic of it. And don't you ever do that, and God help me, I don't want to do that either. It's hard somehow when we go to a worship service or we're in the presence of other people worshiping, man, if you don't choose to be a participant, you often will become a critic because since you're not in it, you're going to stand back and watch it. And once you start watching it, you're on the outside of it and you don't feel what they feel and you don't see what they see. And therefore, you're not going to worship the way they worship. And then you're probably going to wonder what's wrong with them, If you don't participate in worship when you're at worship, you will very, very quickly begin to criticize and despise those who are worshiping. So guard your heart. And again, I must do the same thing. Because I'm a pastor, because I'm a minister, if I'm not leading the worship service, I'll just confess, I am maybe more likely than you to become a critic because I can't stop thinking, well, that's not how I would have done that, or I wouldn't have planned the service that way. Or if I'm listening to another brother preach and I'm like, I don't know if I'd have said that. You know what I mean? It's hard to turn that off, to stop being an observer and step in and be a participant. This is what Michael can't do. Notice she's from a distance looking out her window, not in it, but she got something to say about it. And man, that's a bitter heart, and it's only going to get colder and more bitter because she doesn't know how to come down and join the celebration. In the book of Chronicles, the ark is very important. It's mentioned over 46 times, which is kind of fascinating. Chronicles emphasizes the ark. It's not mentioned in any other post-exilic writing. So, like Ezra, Nehemiah, Malachi. In any other post-exilic writing, there's no reference to the ark. But Chronicles focuses on it, over nearly 50 times. One more thing, just if you want extra reading today, I know I'm like the teacher that gives you extra homework, but no, if you really want to sort of enter into this worship, go to Psalm 132. Psalm 132 is the psalm that goes with this story. And incidentally, it's the only psalm, the only place in the whole Psalter that you encounter the word ark, or any mention of the ark in the Psalms. But anyway, Psalm 132 is the song that goes behind this story. So if you really want to enter into that worship a little bit more, find Psalm 132. Listen, it's Monday, y'all. I got yard mowing. I'm putting a new access panel on my crawl space under my house. So I am not handy, so pray for me. Pray for my house. I will see you guys in the morning, Lord willing, for 10 with Tim. 1 Chronicles chapter 16, the whole thing. Chapter 16, verses 1 to 43. I will see you in the morning for 10 with